Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Buy Round Interview Show, and a big welcome back to the Buy Round, but also welcome back to the coaching arena, Laurie Daley.
Thank you, Jimmy. Great to be back. Great to be a part of your show again. Obviously, Origin's just around the corner, and we're really looking forward to it.
Is it round the corner? I would never have known.
Yeah, it feels like 100 years ago, but it feels like it's come around so quick in the same sentence. And you feel like you've got everything planned, but you're scrambling. It's a weird time of the year. It's a weird feeling, but it's one of those feelings that when you've played football, whether it's for Australia, England, the Dogs, Raiders, whatever it is, you start to get that beat in your chest, and that's what you love about it.
You know what I found this year? In comparison to other years, because of the player transfer movement and the DCE, Dylan Brown, Brandon Smith, Lockie Galvin, probably the focus or attention hasn't been so much on Origin. But I think now with a little under 2 weeks until you name your Game 1 team, I feel as though Magic Round, it was being spoken about the bolters, who's going to get in. And I think with 2 rounds to go, who's going to make top 4? Who's going the situation of the Penrith Panthers as well probably deflects a bit of the conversation around state of origin selections. But I think these next 2 weeks, it's just going to be dominating.
I think you're right. And I can feel that myself just through people wanting to do interviews. People want to speak to you on the street about who you're going to select. So it's one of those things that you knew was coming, and we've sort of flown under the radar, like Desi likes to do, fly under the radar. But now it's on, because I reckon you're right. The Magic Round has come and gone, and the attention will still be on the NRL, but now the main focus starts with Origin.
Do you know what I love, Laurie, about our game? The fact that you will have interactions with people on the street that will ask that question about, who are you going to pick in the heart? Like, who's going to be your fullback? Like, I think we've got to appreciate that not a lot of sports give access to the people in the street. And, I always say this, like rugby league, I knock about people. We have such a serious role at times, but we knock about people that are approachable in the street. I think it's something that our game needs to hold on to.
Yeah, I think you're right. And not only people in the street. Like, I reckon about 3 weeks ago, I was having a beer with a few mates, and one of them pulled me up and he said, "Mate, tell me who you're picking. Yeah, what's your side going to be?" And I said, "Oh, mate, I don't know yet." He goes, "Surely you know." He said, "I won't tell anyone." I'm like, "Mate, no, but he was, I don't know whether he was like offended that I didn't tell him, but he was sort of taken a little bit back. He was like, "What?"
Surely as a friend, you'd know. You're not going to leak the team to hit, like, it's top secret information.
Yeah. And things change over one day, let alone 4 or 5 weeks out from a state of origin contest. But it's good, and then you have that banter. You feed off that banter, and that's what I love about our game. We're all knockabouts. We all come from hard-working backgrounds. We all love the game of rugby league. It's thriving at the moment. It creates a lot of content. It creates a lot of storylines. And we're lucky enough to be involved in it.
You know what you really should do is just throw wild suggestions out there around. You know what? I've noticed something about Turbo. Yeah. Middle forward. I think there's something there, and just see if you can trust your friends. That mate, you're in a great position to find out which of your friends you can actually trust, and throw different smokies out to each one individually, and see which makes it, if any, make it to the media. And then
what? I haven't thought about that. That might be a little game I play over the next week or so, just to see who's trustworthy and see who the league is, who the mould is.
Mate, in terms of the job becoming available, was there any hesitation, or was it just I want to get back in the mixer?
Oh, it's sort of interesting how it all happened, Jimmy, because I don't think any of us expected Madge not to be here. So it came out of the blue, basically, when Madge announced that he was going to the Brisbane Broncos. So, sitting back and looking and knowing that there was an opportunity there, and then you've got to consider work, because I certainly wasn't going to give up my work on radio, and then knowing what New South Wales Rugby League were looking for, and then to see whether I was that person to help take over from what Madge has started to create. So it was sort of one of those ones that I thought about, and then I spoke to a few people, and one of the things that I've always lived by is having no regrets. And honestly, 18 months ago, if you had have told me or said to me, would you want to coach New South Wales again? You'd be like, oh, probably not. And then you always want to help out. So you always want to help out. And then Brad Fittler, before he declined to accept the contract that was in front of him, he wanted me to come back in 24 to help him. So Freddie asked me to come back and help him and be a part of his team. And I jumped at that chance, and then he declined the offer, and then Madge got the role. So that sort of lit a fire inside me as well, because I'd never thought I'd be back involved. But then once Freddie asked me, I got excited again. And then once he declined, then I was like, oh, well, time's passed. So my time of being back in charge or being a part of the New South Wales setup, possibly wouldn't happen. And then again, last year, Madge asked me to come in and speak to the players a couple of times, which I did. And, once you're in and around a footy environment, you just love it. And that's something where the passion starts to drive inside you again. And then, the opportunity came around, and I was pretty keen to get involved in whatever shape or form that was going to be. I think, when you get asked, or when you play for a team that you love and being so passionate about, you always think you got something to offer. And if you can get involved, you jump at the chance. So, for me, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come back, is that, I think I've still got something to offer on this stage. I think I understand Origin, and I reckon that, the passion is still burning inside me. So why not? No regrets.
I love that mantra. No regrets. In terms of the overwhelming majority of coaching opportunity comes from poor results, poor form, and the coach has moved on. This is a slightly different situation because Michael Maguire won the series in 2024. Is it a strange situation to come into as a coach coming in from a winning team, because it's a very rare situation in any team sport across the planet?
Yeah, I think it is different because of the success that New South Wales had last year, and the guys really loved and enjoyed being coached by Madge, and they enjoyed the camp environment that he created. So for me, that's what I have to do and do it better. Obviously there's been a lot of time, thought, effort gone into it. But at the end of the day, it's about when we get the players together, making them understand the why, why are we playing for New South Wales and what makes this game so important to us. And then try and be better than what we were last year, on and off the field. So that's what we're trying to create, and that's what we will create.
You think you're going to need to be better?
Most definitely we will be, because Queensland will be better. Queensland coming off a loss, I think we've seen it in the past where, they come back hard and they come back strong. I don't know who they will pick, but I know, they'll welcome back a guy like Tino into that Queensland team. And
Cameron Munster as well.
Cameron Munster, they missed last year. So any team that has those two guys in it in particular will be stronger.
And that desire for them to get it's a different position to players current winners as opposed to losing the previous series.
You know what it's like. You only have to be off a touch. When Queensland were going into last year's series looking for 3 in a row. So, and New South Wales had lost 2 in a row. So, not that your motivation is never there, but sometimes it's quite not not quite where you need it to be. And small margins at Origin. There's not much difference between the two teams, and if you get it wrong on the night, invariably you lose the game.
Obviously, Michael Maguire changed a lot of things. He was the previous coach. Obviously, have you spent much time talking with him about the sort of the changes that he implemented and the blueprint for success? Yeah,
one thing I've been very conscious of not doing is coming in and try and reinvent the wheel. New South Wales did a lot of good things well last year. So what I have done, I have spoken to the players that were involved in those camps and asked them their feedback on what they think worked really well. And the majority of stuff worked extremely well. So we've kept it. So I haven't had to come in and change a lot. I will put my own stamp on things, but that's not to say that wasn't successful last year. It's just my way of doing it rather than Madge's way of doing it. But in terms of major changes, no, because there doesn't need to be major changes.
Obviously, we know shaping the environment affects the performance, and even just the geographical location of where you have your camp. Is that going to change? Because am I right in thinking it's been Coffs Harbour with you in the past? It's been in Coogee.
Yep.
Maguire had it in the Blue Mountains.
Yep.
Is it going to stay in the Blue Mountains?
So it will be in the Blue Mountains. Every player that I've spoken to and every bit of feedback was keep it there. Don't take it away from the Blue Mountains, because they actually loved it and enjoyed it. So I would have been silly to go, you know what? Bugger you, blokes. I'm going to take it somewhere else.
Was there any reason why they enjoyed that location?
I think the fact that they, weren't in the spotlight, so to speak, 24/7. Some of the places and some of the camps and environments, you don't have time to get away and relax. And you know what big game is like. The focus is on you 24/7, so you need to be able to switch on when you need to, but also get away from it when you need to. But just up in that relaxed environment of the Blue Mountains, they really enjoyed it. So for me, after hearing that feedback, it was a no-brainer.
Will there be anything different about that 10-day period from your previous regime, or some of the things that Maguire and the staff, because it's pretty much the same staff?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Is there anything that will be different about that 10-day period, you feel?
No, I think what I'm sort of careful not to do is to rinse and repeat what happened last year, because I know that if you just do that, we're not going to get better, and I can't recreate what Madge did, and I'm a different type of personality to Madge. But one thing I want to be able to do is just to put my own little stamp on it and do things a little bit differently. But I certainly haven't got an ego that's going to come in and say, completely wipe what they did last year, staff and everyone, because I want to do it my way. I'd be silly to do that.
Yeah. Just in terms of your areas of focus, are you all about the team that you have, or will you be looking at, once Billy Slater names his 17, are you starting to look at ideas and areas to try and exploit, or areas of focus that you feel you need to pay extra attention to a Munster and the different things that he brings to his game, or whether or not they go with a Ben Hunt on the bench or the position at fullback?
Yeah, I think that's interesting, because I think you learn a lot about a side as you go through the series. And I don't know how Queensland will play in game one. Obviously, after game one, you can identify certain aspects of their game, so you can start to analyse a little bit more in depth. One thing we will do is analyse individuals of the opposition, but a lot of the first camp will be about New South Wales and implementing what we want to do and making sure we're strong with what we believe win State of Origin games. So, yes, you'll look at the opposition, but you'll possibly do that more as an individual. But we'll be focusing on what we need to do and what I feel and what the players feel we need to do at Suncorp.
Yeah, game one at Suncorp. Is that does that favour you? It makes the task more difficult. I guess if you had a choice, where would you like to see game one for just purely on New South Wales having the advantage?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people view Queensland in a different manner. Personally, I always loved playing up there. And my first experience at Origin level up there wasn't a great one. It was a shocker, to be perfectly honest. So I think it was New South Wales' worst ever defeat, the first game that I played. And that was played at the Old Lang Park. But as I got older, I actually enjoyed it. I thrived on it. You wanted to go up there and saw it as a bit of a challenge. So I'm unsure of how the players see it. But I certainly think there's no advantage at Origin level. We talk about the home ground advantage. That can happen, but if you're strong enough mentally, it shouldn't matter where you play.
Well, also, this time out, the last time New South Wales was there, they clinched the series.
Mm. Yeah, they did, and it was a strong performance from New South Wales. So, any of those players that are back in game one this year should be extremely confident going there. But we also give respect to the opposition, knowing that they'll be a better team. Billy Slater has been one of the great representative coaches, but he's always been competitive, and he was the best fullback the game has arguably seen. And we know that the work ethic that he has and the passion he has for Queensland and the preparation, he will be spot on for their team. So we're gonna be good. We're gonna be better than what we were.
I think looking at looking at like opportunities that present themselves for New South Wales to land a psychological blow of winning 2 games back to back in Queensland. One clinch the series, one could be the perfect start. That must be a real appeal to you as the coach to be able to get off on the front foot start, going up there in the cauldron with a group of players that I'm imagining there'll be a high percentage of that did that job last year.
Yeah, and I think when you look over the history of Origin, and that's why New South Wales and what they did last year was great. There's a higher percentage of winning the series if you win game one. That's fact. So New South Wales got beaten in game one, but were able to bounce back. So that says a lot about that group. So the challenge for us, is to go up there and get the job done. And you want to try and start, obviously, in game one, but you just got to win 2 of the 3. Doesn't matter where you win them. Doesn't matter where you play. You just got to win two of the 3. So I know it's a bit of a throwaway saying that, but at the end of the day, if you lose game one, you've got to win the next 2.
Obviously, your friends have asked about the 17. With 2 rounds of football to go, do you and your staff have, barring injury, barring suspension, do you have the 17 on a piece of paper somewhere locked up at Daily headquarters?
No.
Absolutely.
No, haven't got the 17. Obviously, there's players that you think, if they're fit, are going to be in the team. But in terms of locking down the 17, no, we haven't. We haven't written everyone's name down and just kept it away, and we'll produce it in 2 weeks' time. There's still a lot to play for in the next 2 weeks, and for me, I want to see some players really put their hand up and knock on the door and just demand to be selected. And I know if we've got everyone playing good football, there's going to have to be some really strong and tough conversations around the selection table. That's what we've had at the moment. We haven't locked, the 17 down. There's a number of players that that if they're fit, you'll find a position for them. But certainly there's a number that are up for grabs as well.
Is it purely on form of the individual, or are you looking at maybe players that have the ability to combine together at club, or maybe that have combined in the past? Like, is it purely just on form, or are you looking at other aspects and even the consideration of what that player does to a group, or how they, the character test. We see some players clearly, the different people and how they would fit into a group that has just come off a win.
Yeah, well, obviously you want to see them playing good football. But if you were just picking on form, there's two things. Like, what looks good to you doesn't look good to me sometimes. And if you're picking on form, well, you just pick up the Dally M and go, righto, best position, he's fullback.
Or pick team of the week.
Or team, if you're picking on form. So you got to take everything into consideration. You got to take in how someone's playing. You got to take in consideration how they've worn the jersey before, how they performed at that elite level. Do they rise to the occasion playing with better players if their team is struggling? And what sort of success have they had? So there's a lot of and what are the actions that you want from a particular person in a position that you're after, that you think is going to suit your team, the style of team you want to attack with and the style of team you want to defend with.
Is probably the question I'd like to ask is there going to be a domino effect? Like, will somebody's selection in the team then have that domino effect on others? I'm talking about obvious combinations. I know in 14, when you were successful, Trent Hodgkinson, Josh Reynolds, the combination, it would have been, I couldn't envisage you picking one without the other.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
now,
no.
There are a few players that I think maybe would look at selection would be based on the fact that if you pick the person that I played next to on a club level, I'm thinking about maybe a Jacob Carraz.
Yeah.
If Crichton's in, that really strengthens his chances.
Yeah, I think you can look at it like that. I think that's something that would be discussed around the selection table, and it has been discussed, combinations and how important they are in a short space of time, because you don't get that many sessions to work with each other. So that is important. And it's then about their form, and it's about other people in those positions. What can they add? Can they work together with other people in the systems that you want to implement? So the answer to your question is yes, you do look at combos, you do look at everything, but it's not the be-all and end-all. But I'd love at some stage for a camera to sit in on a meeting, like a camera in a selection meeting, just so everyone could see actually what you're discussing. I think people think at times you just randomly pick people. Like, to see the effort, the time, the numbers, everything that you throw in, and then you're sort of making your decision based off all the information. I think sometimes people think we might just throw a dartboard and we land on. That's not the case. It's very well thought out in our minds, and sometimes it doesn't always work, by the way. But just because you've made those selections doesn't mean it's wrong. It means that we've just got to be able to create an environment for those players to play their best football in.
One of the things that fascinates me is middle forward. So I played in the middle myself, and look, for me to have an effective game, I probably needed 55 to 60 minutes. And that's the same with some other players. And generally speaking, the top middle players average out around that number. So if you've got the best four middle or best five middle players for New South Wales, and they all need around about 55 to 60 minutes to perform well at their clubland, well, there's only, for middle forwards, there's only 180 minutes of football. Sorry, not 180, 240 minutes of football to be played. So I'm looking at a guy like Terrell May and his input for the West Tigers. He needs 60 to 80 minutes to perform really well, or to really stand out.
Yeah.
Does that maybe decrease his possibility of selection because you're maybe looking at it and going, I just need somebody to do, like, and if history will show, if you go look at the number of minutes, some maybe two middle forwards on the bench for New South Wales or one of the starters, you would only require them for 15, 20 minutes of effort.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Jimmy, that one, because and you're right with what you say. Trying to give people the time that they need, and some players, if everything goes to plan, will not play the minutes that they do at club land. But the other issue and the other challenge you have, if you lose a middle forward that plays long minutes and you've only got a couple of guys that are impact players on the bench, and all of a sudden in the biggest game of their life, they've got to stretch out the minutes, you're putting them under a lot of pressure. But it's something that we have spoken about. Don't worry about that. It's something that we've spoken about. Do you look for those people with the long minutes and go, rightio, you're not going to get those minutes, go harder and faster? Or do you look at 2 or 3 blokes that can cover the long minutes, and 2 blokes and then have 2 sort of impacty type middle forwards? So, yeah, and the balance of your team and the balance of the squad, that's something that we'll debate, and it's been debated strongly.
Or even somebody's ability to accept that they may only get 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that can maybe...
Well, everyone wants to play 80, don't they?
Of course,
everyone wants to play 80.
Yeah.
And it's like, the other one too, Jimmy, is, having... Because these days it's a 17-man, 18-man game, That bloke who's 18th man, he's going to be ready too. But the bench is just as important as the starting 13. And to have certain players on together or not on together is so important as well. And you understand that from being a middle forward. So you've got to get the right balance between who starts and who comes on and who's on the field at the same time, and you can't afford, say, some of your better leaders to be off. If you're going to rotate them, you need to sort of leave one on and have one off. So it's a juggling act, and it's something that you need to discuss and have a plan for.
And sometimes when I'm watching at home, it seems so obvious. Like you need that type of player on that cleans up mess and enjoys cleaning up mess, and isn't going to get the accolades for cleaning up the mess. And maybe even, when they do the ratings out of 10, gets a 5 because on the stats, it's like, well, he's had 3 runs for 21 meters, and that's not highlight reel stuff. But for the job in the team is like we value this player.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's about not only is it about you as a forward, your carries and the amount of tackles you do, but it's about the efforts that you put in. It's about, if you're in position to put pressure on as a kicker, you've got to be able to do that. It's how you move off the line. Whether you're doing it with speed. How you get back into the line. How do you go from one side of the ruck to the other side of the ruck, and whether you push out or whether you can come across and push square. How do you react after the line's been broken? How quickly do you get back in the line and help recover? So there's a lot of things that go into watching a player. And I must say that's what I've enjoyed this year, because for the last probably 7 years, I've just watched it as a fan.
Yeah.
So watching it as a fan and for me this year, watching as a coach has been 2 completely different things, because you've got to watch closer. You're watching how people tackle. Not only their tackle technique, but where they end up in the tackle, how quickly they get off the line. What's their first up contact like? Do they end up at the back, around near the legs? Do they get up slow? There's a lot of things that you look at other than just a number on a stat sheet. So that's the way I've sort of started to watch footy a bit more, looking at the individuals that we're looking at selecting and what they can add to the team.
One of those players that I think epitomises that is Jake Trbojevic. He was the captain of a winning series last year. Now, if we were to pick purely off form or numbers, he probably misses out, with all due respect to Jake. He's somebody that relished that 20-minute role. We know speaking to people in and around the game. He's a lot of the time referred to as the glue of the camp. Is, I guess, senior captain with their position under threat and being spoken about. Is he in debate, or where are we up to in regards to Jakey Trbojevic?
Yeah, I think Jake talking to the players and talking to the coaching group, and myself, coaching Jake when I was last in charge. There's not a more passionate, committed person for New South Wales than Jake. And what he does in and around a team can't be measured. Can't be measured. And he handled that role last year so well. Because as we were speaking about before, obviously everyone wants to play long minutes. He's captain of New South Wales, wanted to play long minutes. But he did what the team wanted him to do, and that's what you need in a Origin team. So I'd have no hesitation in picking Jake. But you want to make sure that they've got form behind them. You've got to want to make sure that they understand whatever role they're going to be playing in, that you trust them to do it. But he's a player that we've discussed and certainly in the mix, and I've got the greatest respect for him. So I would certainly say he's someone that is in and around discussion, and someone that means a lot to New South Wales. So. With 2 weeks to go, I'm sure that he will play his best football. Coming off the back of a knock last week, give him a bit of time to freshen up. So no, I think you'll see the best of Jake in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I guess like a lot of people at home are picking their team, and when I've been sort of trying to shuffle the deck chairs and figure out who's playing where and whatnot, I think one of the decisions that you're likely going to have to make is. It may be the inform player in the competition of Terrell May or Jake Trbojevic. That's just my observations with how I'm,
maneuvering the pieces on the board
when I'm playing the role of Coach Daley.
Yeah. No, there's we've got a lot of strong options in the front row, and any one of those players you mentioned, and there's a couple of others that I would have no hesitation at all. So I think the fact that we're in good shape, touch wood, we don't have any injuries between now and when we select it. There's going to be some people that miss out that deserve to be there, but it is game one and people will get the first opportunity. You very rarely, I don't know how many times it's happened, probably once, where you've used the same squad for 3 games. So there's going to be an opportunity. So what you need to be able to do is, if you miss out on game one, just keep playing well, because your opportunity will come.
I think there's one thing I can guarantee when I see New South Wales' team selected, stars are going to miss out. Stars of the game, big name players are going to miss out. It's just, unless there's, a catastrophic 2 rounds of injuries and suspension, I think we can all say genuine superstars are going to miss out.
Well, I think if everyone's fit and healthy, we're going to have some tough decisions. We are. There's no doubt about that. So, and again, as a coach, that's tough making those phone calls. But I'd prefer to be doing that than not having everyone available. But the people that we select will be given the first opportunity, and it'll be up to them then to decide whether they'll be a part of game 2 or 3, because you don't have time in Origin not to get it right, and you've got to hit the ground running, and you've got to make sure you bring your best game of football. Otherwise, the position we're in, you've got people knocking on the door that deserve to be there in game 1, didn't make it. You've been given first opportunity, so you've got to take it with both hands.
The fact that it is in Queensland for game 1, is that going to does that get brought up on the selection committee about okay, we need to pick a team to go to Queensland and win, as opposed to start the series with a home win?
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this about Lang Park. it is a different place to play footy. And if you're not ready for it, it'll eat you up and spit you out. So in terms of have we spoken about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to go in with too many rookies up there? No. So, but that's not to say we won't pick, but it's just being aware that when you go into that environment, under pressure, what's the default position as a player? What do they go back to, and does that stand up under pressure? So that's something that we're really looking at, and it's something we've discussed, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to select rookies, but you'd nearly be reluctant to pick 5 or 6 with a game one being up there.
Yeah, it's interesting. The psychology of sport fascinates me because it's a piece of grass with the same dimensions, but that whole environment does shape how you behave and your ability to perform.
Well, it's funny, because, again, as I said earlier, I used to enjoy it, but until you've experienced the Glencorp crowd or Suncorp crowd and the environment of a state of origin up there, it's different to anywhere else. It is different. It's different here in Sydney. It's different to Perth. It's different to Melbourne. And if you're not ready for it and not prepared for it, we've seen over the history of Origin that even the best can fail up there and do some silly things.
You mentioned something before about those players that don't get picked, and you'll give them a phone call.
Yeah.
How important is that to you to have those difficult conversations where you're delivering news to people they really don't want to hear?
Yeah. Oh, it's obviously tough, and as you said before, if everyone stays fit and healthy, there's going to be some people that deserve to be in the team, but we just haven't found a position. So as a coach, you want to be able to say to a player, you've missed out because of X, Y, Z, and this is what you need to do to get back into the team. That's the feedback you want. Some of them, it might be, mate, we just haven't found a position for you. You're doing everything right. You've just got to keep going and doing what you're doing, and then your opportunity will come. So that might be a conversation that we have. So, but at the end of the day, you got to make those tough calls, and you got to live and die by them. But whoever we pick, we'll be extremely confident in them.
Obviously, you have a role in the media now. It has the amount of engagement is through the roof. It's increasing year on year. Like I said, the fallout to your selection in team for game one, because I think just by the embarrassment of riches in a number of positions that you have, is going to create debate, content. Here's what I would have done. Our mate Josh Reynolds, he messaged me before and said, just you wait, I'm going to be getting stuck into losses 17 that he picks, no matter who he picks, if it's Edwards or Teddy or Pappenhausen or Tommy, he's like, I'm going to be saying I would not have done that. But this is going to happen, and I guess it's all part of the game. How do you sort of envisage managing that? Because I think players would say that they're not reading, they're not listening, but it's difficult not to.
Oh no, I think that it is difficult. One, because even if they don't listen or read, people talk to them about it.
Yeah. Well, like us, we said, people in the street.
Yeah. So I get that everyone has got a different side. So you get 4 people in a room, four ex-players, I'll guarantee you, they won't come up with the same 17.
Yeah, absolutely.
They will not come up with the same 17.
Mine would change on a Tuesday to a Wednesday afternoon. Generally, someone plants a little idea or a seed, and you start to water it a little bit. And
so I get all that. But invariably, you're not too far away from the mark. I think most times you select a team, And this is the funny thing about it. Most time you pick a team of 17, most people have 14 or 15 of those players in their squad, but it's the two that don't make it or the two that's in it that you'd really focus in on. And I know it's all about media content and driving conversation, so I get all that. So that's not a concern, because everyone likes something different in a player. You ask, Wayne Bennett to a Trent Robinson, they're probably poles apart not poles apart, but they probably look for something different in a player and prepared to sort of give that player a go because it suits what they're about. Ricky and a Cam Serraldo or someone. They're not always going to agree on the same player. That doesn't mean they're right or wrong. What the systems that they got in place doesn't mean it's right and wrong. It's how to get the best out of the people that you've selected, and that's what we'll be looking to do. Like
really, we should, in an ideal world, we'd be celebrating the fact that you have these headaches, but instead we don't. We pick apart and we sort of have to nail our selections down and say this pair. Like for fullback, for example, the debate raging in the media, which will continue on, is James Tedesco, Dylan Edwards. Now, Tedesco's form in the past 2 years, it's been like sensational. You want that. And then Edwards with everything that he's achieved in the game. But I'll throw this. If both of those two fall over next week, how do you choose between Pappenhausen, Latrell, and Tommy Turbo? Like, this actually should be celebrated that our game, the players are creating these headaches.
Yeah. All those players could play, as you know, play first grade at Origin, play Origin in the one jersey. And you'd have no hesitation.
Yeah. And they'd all excel.
Hesitation. And they'd deliver. It is, but I get that, everyone's got a favourite player, and I get that, you read about certain players and you look at the Dally M leaderboard and, see who's up there and you just automatically think that those players are going to be selected. The thing that I love about it is that we have the debate, but once the team's named, you just hope that everyone gets behind the team. They can have their say. It's no dramas at all. Because, I've done it myself. I would have gone this way, would have selected this person. That's okay. But, after that initial announcement of the team, everyone's discussed it, the next day or 2 days later, you just want to hope that week leading into the game, the focus is on the team and on the support of your team for that state. So if you're New South Wales, let's get behind the team. If you're Queensland, get behind their team and just support them as best you possibly can.
Is that something that you're going to actively encourage, just push for this team to go all the way? Like, let's not worry about who you would have picked. Let's get behind this team.
Yeah, and I think that's the message you try and send out every year. Just support the team. I get everyone has an opinion, and everyone's entitled to that opinion, and it's strong debate and it's good debate. And you can keep talking about it. There's nothing wrong with that. But I reckon, for us, what we need is people to rally behind, show that support, players feed off that good energy, and that's what Queensland have always done, and when we've done it, and just even last year, the amount of support that the side had and generated from, even though they lost game one, I think everyone was proud of their performance. Not that sometimes being proud is good enough in Origin, but I think they really felt that support, that encouragement, and they felt like, they were always capable of winning, and no one sort of tore them down after that first loss because they saw them really committed. So hopefully that's the type of squad that we'll be able to produce this year.
Speaking of game one, at 10 o'clock on the 28th of May, how important is it that we're talking about the players, the game, and not the match officials? Now, there's been a number of contentious calls that we've in the first 9 rounds of football. We've said, I hope that doesn't happen in Origin. Hope that doesn't affect the state of origin. Where are you as a coach and as an observer of the game?
I can only go on probably the history of origin and the history of big games. Usually it's controversy free,
Usually.
Usually. And, we're not sort of refereeing like they do in the NRL. And you only have to go back to last year's Origin series and, the last couple of grand finals. They've, the players at the end of the day, they decide the result. They decide the result.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think it will be because just history suggests that there's not many games at that level where you sit back and go, oh, geez, that was a decision that may have cost a state victory. Usually majority of the time the player. So I got no concerns. I think what we saw on the weekend was really good refereeing for the majority of it. There was some controversy, but I thought the majority of the games on the weekend were superb compared to the week before.
Yeah. Geez, I hope you're right. That as a lover of the game and obviously as an independent viewer of state of origin, being an Englishman, I really hope.
Where do your loyalties sit?
Well, I live in New South Wales, so
beautiful.
I support New South Wales.
Right, yeah. I
do. I genuinely do support them, but if they don't win,
did you when you were watching it in England, or did you watch it over there? In
England?
Oh
man, I used to. Well, it was on at 10:30 in the morning, and we go to. I remember skipping school to go and watch State of Origin. So out the door I'd go, say bye to mum and dad. They'd go off to work, and then I'd U-turn back, go home, watch State of Origin. Or when we were at training, strict rules. We had a lot of Aussie players that had played State of Origin, Jamie Lyon, Matt Gidley, Chris Flannery for Queensland, and it was a strict, do not speak about the score. Now, some of the lads like to play games and toss that up. They wanted to go home and watch it.
You'd be filthy.
They'd want to go home and watch it not knowing the score, so that you get that live experience. It didn't always get afforded to them. But in terms of the product of like a product to watch, to witness, like as a lover of our sport, I'm blown over by it.
It's amazing, Jimmy. It's the intensity of the game is just at a new level. The speed of it just compares to nothing else you've played in. Test matches are great, but the intensity and the speed, just the speed of Origin, and the ball in play, it's just non-stop. It just and if you don't go to Origin, you look up and the game's over, and you're going, geez, what happened? What did I do? I did nothing. So you've got to be able to attack it. You've got to, compete against yourself and push yourself. And that's the challenge, is that when you get an opportunity, that you've got to go for it. You can't just sit there and, as an edge back rower, so to speak, and sit there and hope the ball comes your way. You mightn't see it.
Got to get after it.
You've got to go after it.
Just on that with international football and state of origin, where are you on the eligibility? And if you play state of origin, should you have to play for Australia, do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, this is no disrespect to a guy like you, you came out here and you played wonderful football and you could have easily played Queensland or New South Wales. But I don't think it's right that you as an Englishman should play state of origin.
I agree. I should be excluded because I don't.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to qualify on residency, but then there may be players that are in different situations where they've grown up here in New South Wales or Queensland. They have a connection to this state, but they may want to represent a different nation at a World Cup or in a Test series.
And I think that's where my mindset has to change, because I think now with the rise of international football and the rise of Samoa and Tonga, and with the amount of Pacific Islanders that play our game and that are born in New South Wales or Queensland, I'm okay with that if they've been here.
Yeah.
If they've been here. I just don't want to see State of Origin open up to everyone.
Absolutely not. We've got to be discriminatory.
Yeah.
We have to discriminate against English people. Like you can't be born and raised in England, come over here and qualify on residency.
No.
You have to exclude those people, as harsh as that may sound. But I'm with you. I think if you're born in the state or you have a real connection to the state, like a genuine connection, but you still have a genuine connection to your, the birthland of your parents or your grandfathers or whatever it may be.
So if you're born in England, you come here at 2 or 3. Like, that's fine. You know, you're growing up here and you're playing all your junior footy here. I got no issue with that, but I'd hate to see it changed where you come over at 18, 19, and then go that good that you are eligible, not eligible, but you're good enough to play State of Origin. I would find that difficult to accept you being a part of it. That's all.
But in terms of maybe some of the players at your disposal, Stephen Crichton, Brian Toto, playing against people like Tina Fasumalawe,
born and raised here, they should be allowed to play,
and they're okay to play for a different nation other than Australia.
I think that's something that needs to be looked at, because I know that a lot of people are strong, and I was always of the opinion that if you were to play Origin was a selection trial for Australia. So that's the way.
Has it gone past that now, though?
That's the way. I think it has. For me, it was always about coming up against someone that you knew was competing, not only State of Origin, but for a spot in the national team. So that we've moved away from that. We have moved away from that. So the eligibility rule now, as it stands, I think is a good one. Where players that are born here or have come here at a really young age, and are, deserving of a position in a Queensland or a State of Origin, New South Wales State of Origin side, I think they should be allowed to play.
Just quickly wrap it up. And the Kangaroos tour back.
Geez, how good. That's exciting, Jimmy, and you'd be pumped as well. 23 years or something?
It skipped so many players. Skipped so many players.
One of the great things you can do is tour England, and to be able to play test matches, one at Wembley, the new Everton.
I'm going to get emotional about that. I'm going to get. That's my team. So
Oh, righty.
Man.
And then obviously Leeds, and I think 2 games have been sold out already.
Yes, Headingley and the new Everton ground yet to have a naming rights partner. Whatever that stadium will be named, it's completely sold out. So,
well, it's going to be massive, and it's good for the English game, because I know the English game is copying a little bit at the moment, but I reckon that will give them an injection of enthusiasm and a connection to the game, and might inspire the game to kick again over there.
Well, also, what it might just do, if it's sold out 2 from 3, if Wembley gets sold out, that occasion at Wembley Stadium and the occasion at Everton's new ground, the occasion and the atmosphere at Headingley, what it might just do is start to elevate the importance of the Kangaroo jersey. Which you could argue has been has been stripped away a little bit when you think of players, not putting their hand up to play or with surgery going on. Like, I remember speaking to Wayne Pearce, and he's still filthy almost 40 years after the fact and missing that Kangaroo tour. Now, if those players that go and tour this time, they're like, you think Origin's great, wait till you get 90,000 at Wembley Stadium, or we went to Everton, we went to Headingley. Like, they'll start to talk about it. It'll be repeated through the TV screens. Like, maybe it might just be the kicker for the Australian jersey as well as the England game, the game in England, but also for international football as a whole.
I think all the players that are playing in the NRL would love to go away on a Kangaroo tour. They all want to be a part of that, and Mal's done such a fantastic job in creating that environment that they all want to get there. So I think it's great international football is on the rise. And I think one of the great things we've seen is the rise of Tonga and Samoa. But, Australia hasn't been left behind. The Kiwis are still producing good players. The English have still got some good players. And, with the players that they've got out here in the NRL helping the boys when they go back home at the end of the year, I think we're in for a wonderful test series.
Wonderful test series, wonderful World Cup coming up as well. Laurie Daley, thank you so much for joining us here on the Buy Round. It's been great to chat with you again, and all the very best in this series. I cannot wait for it.
Always been a pleasure, Jimmy. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.